playing Pop Warner when he was playing for the Oakland Saints. I was playing for the Berkeley Cougars. And our family's from the same part of Oakland, North Oakland, so we've been around each other a lot. Yeah, we got some history there.
Oh, y'all like really came up together?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I used to try to tackle this dude in high school. It was hard.
Yeah, good luck.
And like I said, Cole, we met at the inaugural event that we did.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it's great to bring you guys together. I thought that I'd start this conversation off and just contextualize it. And we want to talk about sustainability and the financial ethics of the industries that we in. You know, we all work in some form of entertainment. We're not activists like you know to the point like Chairman Fred or some of the other folks you heard from on the panels today. But I think that these two men also do their part, you know, and do their part in very very amazing ways, you know. But just starting it off, I got a general question for both of y'all. Like when y'all was coming up, how long did y'all expect to live? Like just in projections.
I expected to live a long time. I still, you know what I mean? Like, I know what you're getting at.
Yeah, it's a real question.
There was definitely the reality, the understanding of the reality, but I always felt, I mean, almost to a childish degree, I almost felt like I always felt protected, you know what I mean, and like blessed, and like even certain situations that would happen in the city is just like to a ignorant degree, I just would not practice the safe. Of course, you know when to run, you know what I mean? But it would be times when it's just like, I just was so intrigued, you know what I mean? And like, but to get to your questions, like I always expected to live, or at least hope, you know what I mean? But I understand the reality of what you're talking about.
It's a real question. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, for me, it was just, you know, I'm talking about where I was from. They stressed to us that you'd be dead or in jail by 18. So making it to 21 was like an accomplishment. And I mean, that was whether you graduated or didn't. Just that was like a milestone, you know, coming from where I'm from. But overall, like after seeing and witnessing a lot of the shit that I did, I mean, it wasn't promising. So when you look at it like that, I mean, shit, you just hope for another day.
So my question is, like, both of you guys have had like sustained careers, you know what I mean? Like y'all in y'all respective fields, y'all experienced that moment where y'all blew up, you know what I mean? And for a lot of reasons, you guys have been able to sustain it, you know. Can you talk about some of the ways that you've been able to do that?
Sustaining which part? You mean the
just your career, success-wise, yeah.
I think just thinking ahead. I think that even back to your original conversation, your original question is like, I just always am thinking ahead. Now that I'm a little older, it's funny because when you check off all these boxes as you get older, if you blessed enough to like have the success that you want, just kind of run out of boxes. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And I need new boxes to check, but I think just always thinking ahead is how you sustained it. I think a lot of people, even I can just imagine in your profession, because I know how it is in basketball, it's like some people want to be great and be the greatest, so their mind state is different. Some people just want to make the league. That's the highest they can see. And don't get it twisted, that's high. Like, you make the league, you already miles ahead and accomplish something that so many people want to accomplish. But for some people, that's as high as they saw. So when they got there, the work ethic slowed down, the decision-making got a little shaky because they accomplished everything that they wanted to accomplish. I just always was seeing past that. So when I got a record deal, everybody was like, oh my God, you signed to Jay-Z. Oh my God, congrats. I'm looking at that bank account, and I'm looking at, and more than that, I'm looking at what I haven't done. And I'm like, I'm barely celebrating this. You know what I mean? So I think it's just like sustainability comes from like looking ahead, you know what I mean? Like, and not being, and being very clear on what you want.
Right.
Do you want to make the league? That's a great goal. But is that as far as you want to get, or do you want to be one of the GOATs. You know what I mean? That's a
Right.
different type of mentality, I think.
Right.
And then I think for me, it was just more so like just never getting content. You know what I mean? I got this little thing that I live by. Like every day I wake up, I try to maximize and live that day to the fullest. So every day is like a new challenge for me. And, you know, it gives me another opportunity to go ahead and accomplish something that I didn't accomplish the day before. And I mean, it comes down to like little silly stuff that I'll do to myself. Like I like biting my fingernails, and if I could go a whole day without biting my fingernails, then I feel like I accomplished something. Right. So then when I put something bigger into into my world, you know, and going to try and accomplish that, it give me something to go in, you know, put my mind to it. And it's like once I set my mind on something and I lock in and I'm focused, it's nothing that could stop me. And the only thing that could do that is me. And I mean, 9 times out of 10, I'm not finna get in my way and stop at some shit that I want. So that's mainly how I continue to, you know, just to strive and, you know, I say like not get content.
So both of y'all have found ways to raise the conversations around social issues that you're passionate about or that are affecting you guys through your actual work. You know, I think about Cole when you went on tour. You know, dressed in clothes that people associate with people who are disenfranchised through the mass incarceration system. You know, I wanted to tell me a little bit about that decision and how you work to give a voice to these issues through your art.
Well, that was like my homeboy Adam, who came through the night, gave me the new Jim Crow. He gave me that book in like maybe like 2015 or something. And it was mind blowing. It was like everything we saw and see, but just put into factual evidence of what was happening. And it happened to coincide with a time, it was after Forest Hill Drive album, with a time in my life where I was just tired of like rapping by myself. You know what I mean? Like so much of my career, my art was like storytelling from my own perspective. I always would give you like little branches of somebody else's perspective, but so much of it was like my personal journey, my personal growth, my personal flaws, this, that, and the third. And it was a time period when I was like, that was not interesting to me. What was interesting was like I had just moved back home, like from New York back to Carolina, and it was like I had a whole different perspective of the landscape and some of my friends and the situations that the revolving door like had some of them in. And I'm just like, oh man. So that tour was a product of that album, which was a product of that book and just a desire to like, okay, let me use this platform to tell these stories, you know what I mean? And that's it. I don't even, you know, I don't take it for nothing. I don't look at it like it was some type of heroic thing, you know what I mean? Like I look at it like, nah, it's people that actually are really devoting their lives to like to this. It was just my one little piece to the equation.
That's what's up. And Sean, I know you. You know what I mean. I know how much stuff you do at home for the youth and for families. I know how you take care of your own family. You know what I'm saying. That's a lot of stuff that everybody doesn't see. But can you talk about like some of the ways and some of the reasons why you give voices to certain things, whether it's shouting out where you're from or you know. Even your last time you took the podium, you know, like you kind of got the whole sports world wondering if they'll ever see you on the podium again in that capacity, you know. But you talked about, you know, financial responsibility, you know what I mean, and how the system is kind of stacked against people that work in your industry. You want to talk about like how you get the inspiration for that?
Well, I mean, it probably came from what I started getting into was into these football camps, and you know, I was just doing them locally at home. And I figured out that I was only being able to touch the kids from my neighborhood. So I hooked up with this group, and they took me to Brazil. And we did a football camp in Brazil. And when I had got over there, the kids was like, you know, Bestia, Bestia, Bestia. And I was like, what the hell is that? And it was, you know, they was calling me Beast. And I'm all the way in Brazil. And I'm like, oh, these kids know, you know what I mean? They know what's up. And then I started looking around and, you know, and And I'm like, damn, you know what? They hood's a little bit more gutter than mine. And you know, they was really getting down. And I mean, even though it was a language barrier between us, the kids was following instructions better than how some of the kids at home do. So what I did was I started to go on this, every year I go to a new country and I hold a football camp. And, you know, I went over to Africa, over in Ghana, Nairobi, Nairobi. And I did a watering system for a whole community out there. So to see the appreciation that, you know, that they had for me, it started to make me think outside the box. Like, well, I know my reach is a lot bigger than, you know, just Oakland. And why I'm so proud and why I represent where I'm from is because I've never seen somebody from Oakland go and do, you know, some of the shit that I did. So when I go out there and I put my stamp on it, it's like, you know what, somebody from Oakland came over here and did this. So we do have some people in Oakland that's about that life, and we'll get down in the trenches of where it's at. But I mean, you know, that was a big part of why I really started to, you know, step up and look at things outside the box. And you feel me? We got a saying like, you know, my vision was only as far as the 580 and 880, and those freeways is basically a box. And I mean, I never left that box until I got my opportunity to go and visit a college. I flew to Oregon, and I was like, well, you know, I found out it was more outside the 580 and the 880, so I wanted to touch it. I wanted to explore it. So I mean, you know, I just really got on it, and then when I got outside of it, and I started to see that it was more than what, you know, what I've been seeing for the last 18 years. I got hungry for more. So I mean, you know, I just started exploring as much as I can. And as I went out there, I started to see that it was more like-minded people. And then, I mean, even within that box, you got people like you, you know, Dame. So, you know, it was a good feeling, and I just kept chasing that.
So I mean, we all work in industries that are known to have a history of being exploitative. You know what I mean? Whether it's exploitative towards women, disenfranchised people. You know what I'm saying? People of color. I wonder like how you guys feel about that. You know what I mean? Like I look at the music industry, for instance. You know what I mean? And it's known that at the top of the few labels that there are, you know what I mean, or the top of the few streaming platforms that there are, you know, it tends to be, you know, white male dominated. You know, and you see musicians that are young and black and sometimes not getting the help that they need, you know what I mean, and losing their lives at a young age, or being hot, taking predatory deals. I've seen you like make reference to that, but I ask, like, you know, what are your feelings on it, and how do you buck up against that system?
That's a good question. Because it's one that's decades deep, you know what I mean? And me personally, what do? I just try to, as much as I can, educate on a personal level. When somebody opens up, or like when I probe and get somebody to like maybe open up about their business, or like to your question about deals, like I'll set them up with a lawyer that I actually trust. Like, all right, you need to go see this guy, see if he can work something out over there. But like, in terms of how do you change that, boy, yeah, we would have to be, you know, this would be a much bigger discussion, because it's exploitive on, it's so exploitive we end up exploiting ourselves. You know what I mean? Like that's how deep it is, which I feel conflicted about, because on one way I'm like, man, it's like this young man is getting, you know, he's changing his life, his family's life, you know what I mean? And on the other side, I see the real results in the streets and back home, and not necessarily this guy resulted in this, but just
right.
the stuff we have normalized,
Right.
like what it's become. I remember thinking like very recently, I'm like, black people don't do heroin. You know what I mean? I remember growing up feeling like that, like, oh nah, like that's a white, that's a white drug. Like I never had no experiences with that, and it's like come to find out, it's like, a lot of these younger rappers like have caught themselves like, unfortunately, being like addicted to Percocets. You know what I mean? And lean, which is like, that's a conversation in its own. That's something that they going through, and they own. That's hard to get out of. You know what I mean? But you a rapper, you can get it. You can always get it. I'm now starting to see the results of people back home that can't get it. So they was on it, they was doing it, they was popping the perks, they was sipping the lean, but it's like, and then once they got addicted, it's not easy to get everywhere. Everybody's not rappers, so it's like you hit a certain point where you can't get it, but your body is already fully addicted, and if you don't feed it what it's craving, you about to go through hell. You know what I mean? So it's like, to avoid that hell, I'm starting to see like, oh my gosh, like kids I grew up with getting the thing that is available, which is heroin. It's like, so it's like nobody's out here rapping about heroin. You know what I mean? Like that's not cool yet.
Right.
But the real consequence of us normalizing perks and lean, it's not a judgment, you know what I mean, at all. You know what I mean? It's just a reality. The real life consequence, I feel like, is like I see it.
Do you feel like, I mean, do you, is it like ethically, like you're not a music executive, you know what I'm saying? I've met some, but like, do you think it's ethical for like companies to sign kids that rap about addiction, that people know they're addicted, to reap benefits off their music and not get them help?
Well, the clear answer is no, but the next answer is capitalism. So is capitalism ethical? How much responsibility and ethics can you expect a nameless, a faceless, soulless company to have where nobody's accountable? So a company can commit can do unethical things and even commit a crime, and there's nobody has to stand for that. Coke don't gotta stand for nothing. Universal Music don't gotta stand for nothing. Delta Airlines don't gotta stand for nothing. So it's like, the answer is no, it's not ethical. But then you get into a deeper capitalism conversation, which is like, well, when you're in capitalism, it's damn near like anything goes. You know what I mean? So like, I think it's a deeper conversation.
Yeah, far back on us. Lynch just said, yeah. So just turning to you, Sean. Like I played football from the time I was 7 to the time I was 21. One of my last seasons I played, y'all, like at Cal, and just doing regular everyday stuff. My body feel like I'm 60. You know what I'm saying? Just from that time playing, and most of that time I was playing for free. The last 4 years I had a college scholarship, which was probably less than a minimum wage job. And you've played for how many years, bro?
I got 13 in the league, 3 in college.
And then how many are Pop Warner?
Yeah, all together, we just gonna put it. I've been playing football for my entire life.
So, and this is also an industry similar to in the NFL there are no black owners.
No.
And I watch you and my other homies play, and I see a lot of black people and poor white people. You know what I'm saying? Mostly black folks.
Right.
How do you feel about that? How do the players talk about that?
Man, to be honest, it's a tough situation because you got to think your whole life you've been playing football. For that moment to go ahead and to play in the NFL, and then when you get there, all the executives, the owners, they all white, and it get to a point where in order to fit in, you got to learn how to I guess it's called code switching or something, where you gotta not be yourself in order to fit in, and I'll say to stick around. And then I mean, you know, you don't get too many you know, athletes that actually go into it with the mindset that they're gonna be able to continue to be themselves and give the game back to you know, the younger athletes in order to start a change and to start something differently. Because most people say, you know, it's about getting your money in. At that time, getting your money mean just go out there, play football, and shut up. So if you think outside the box, you tend to shorten your career or not get your career started. And you know, after chasing that career, you know, after putting in all the time in order to get to the NFL, you kind of don't do nothing else. So therefore, it leaves you in a position where your whole life you've been trying to get to this point, and now that you're there, you don't make it, you had nothing to fall back on. And I mean, that's probably like 90% of the lead. So if you do get in the lead and you do have let's say a 5-year career, you know, that's another 5 years in which you put onto your life where you have not thought about what you're gonna do when it's over. So it kind of mess you up in the head, and you gotta reprogram yourself into thinking something differently. And when you don't have a goal, like, oh, I'm gonna reach the NFL, it drains you and it puts you in a different position. So after you've been going for this job to get in the NFL, and people telling you to code switch, and then when you get into code switching and then that don't work out for you, and now you got to go back and find yourself, you chasing your own tail, you fighting demons within yourself, and it's hard to get out of that because nobody has broke the cycle to understand that. We talk about it all the time, it's like a backup plan, but when you see the NFL is so promising and you see all the glamour behind it, you don't think about that. And I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you watch what's going on. It's not that they don't give a fuck about you. So as long as you go ahead and put in the time and the effort, and the way I see it, what they call it, the 15 seconds of fame that they be able to, you know, to shine on, that's another win in their book. You know, for them, you get your 15 seconds and then, you know, you pass through the pipeline again. When I first got to Seattle in 2010, we had a transaction of 275 players that came in and out of there within 1 year. Only 53 people could be on the team at a time. And we had 275 players that came in and went out. And at the end of the day, I'm just thinking in my mind, like, where are those 275 players at now?
How many of them was black, Lynch, if you don't mind me asking?
200,
I'm curious.
275. Man, I mean, it's a hard. I mean, you know, it's hurtful because you come in there one day like, hey, what's up, boy? How you doing, man? And then the next day you come in there like, hey, he's nowhere to be found. So, you know what I mean? It's a hard game. But then at the end of the day, like, you know, like I said, with 13 years in the league, I had to look back at that and I have to say, like, oh, that's business. Because that's what they put it off to us as. Like, that's business.
Or capitalism. like
yeah.
Carl said.
Exactly.
I just, yeah. So I just want to wrap, like, just sitting with y'all, talking to y'all is a trip, like, because, you know, we got so much more. I've never been to North Carolina, man. I'm going to come visit you. I'm going to make that trip.
Yeah, come through.
Yeah, and the Carolinas is interesting because technically they say that everybody's, you know, if you're African of African descent, you know what I mean? Like, chances are they came through that Charleston port, you know what I mean? Somebody in your line, and but I just really trip off how similar, you know what I mean, the vibe is where we from. We from 3,000 miles away from you. You know what I mean? And the stories and you know, I want to just talk about, because you work in an industry where, you know, you can't get paid legally, like with your market price, until you are, you know, nearly 20 years old, essentially. You know what I mean? And in music, I see young kids signing deals. Right. You know what I mean? Like you could post something to Spotify and self-publish and get your money if you can go pro at any age. You know, I remember when we played, bro. We was down the street from where we grew up. 68,000 people came to watch us play, bro. And we was a garbage team in comparison to y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I was the loudest.
Man, y'all don't let him fool you, man. This dude was a hell of an athlete, man. Don't let him fool you. Sitting up here like, and a little short before you get into it, like, he got me kicked out and suspended of a game because he cussed me out, by the way. So y'all don't. This dude was a demon on that field, by the way. So I heard he was a demon on the court, but this dude was in DB. He was a demon on the field. So y'all don't let him fool y'all like he was just an average Joe.
Bro, you came off the couch and jumped over NFL players and scored a touchdown, bro. I'm done with you, man. Anyway, like, what's the biggest concert you performed at?
I don't know. It had to be one of the festivals, like, you know, they do festivals overseas or even in the States. You might have, I don't know. I remember one time, since then, it's funny because I know I've done bigger, but nothing I've done felt as big because where I was at the time, I came out on stage with Jay, and he was at Wireless Festival in London. It was my first time over there in London, and somebody told me, it's 80,000 people out there. Now, mind you, as I got older and then I would headline it myself, I realized, like, damn, they was exaggerating. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't no 80, but it felt like, I'm going to just call it 80, because when I walked out on stage as nobody, you know what I mean? Like, maybe, you know, 1% of that audience might have knew who I was, less than that. Yeah. But if it was a sea of people, it just never ended, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, I've done more than that, but that's the one that felt like, yo, I ain't got no business being out here right now. I came out to do one verse.
Yeah, no, I think about like I'm thinking about that just because of like the financial things that we comfortable with, not comfortable with. You know what I'm saying? And when we played in front of 68,000 people, you know what I'm saying? Like me and my school, we went back to playing in front of like small numbers. Y'all did 68,000 at least every week, and nobody got paid, right? Nope. Like if I was to tell you, you're gonna do a tour with 10 stops. 68,000 people minimum at each tour coming to see you, chant your name, dress up like you, but you're not gonna get it done.
And as long as if I end up paid on the back end, I probably ain't gonna feel no way. It's gonna be like, yeah, man, you gotta pay your dues, boom, boom, boom. Yeah. If I don't end up paid, I'm gonna feel the way. You know what I mean? Like, I say that to say, even in music, there is a level of
You give yourself up a little bit for hope later.
Yeah, because I walked out on that Jay. I opened up for Jay-Z. I might have got paid. I don't even want to say the number because people gonna take it the wrong way as if he did me away. He didn't. Yeah. This is how it works. Yeah. I was attracting no tickets. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
you pay your dues.
I got paid peanuts. You know what I mean? Barely. But yeah, I had to pay my dues. You know what I mean? So like, but yeah, I mean, that's not the same situation. What you talking about is different. Like. Yeah. Everybody's here to see these young men on this field, even with college. It's like, to your point, yes, this is slavery. What we talking about, man? Like, this is like kids are working for free. You know what I mean? That's it. And nowhere else will we allow that to happen.
And I mean, Lynch, bro, like, I'm curiosity, because we wasn't talking a whole lot at that era. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. But how much did you go through in them 3 years of college? How much did your family go through that your financial situation could have helped and prevented?
Man, to be honest, it was I mean, it was tough, but I mean, you know, at the same time, because I was, you know, 5 minutes down the street from the crib, so, you know, I mean, I could get to the house, and then, I mean, you know, around that time, you know, being fresh out of high school and still being at home with, you know, you know, a similar situation. Like I didn't have to stay in no dorms or whatever because
Right.
I was at home. So, I mean, you know, they give us like 1,200 a semester or whatever, and you know, you supposed to rock with that or whatever. But you know, for the most part, like, I mean, I was able to still juke while I was in college because I was still at home. And then, I mean, you know, everybody in college was like, they all, you know, you talk about these drugs, they all wanted them drugs, all of the, you know, the white people on campus. So, you know, I tell my folks, like, hey, they want something, so, and then I was like, shit, well. So, I mean, I was able to do something like that. But, I mean, you know, it would, I feel a little, you know, indifferent to the, you know, the getting paid in college, only because, you know, I've been in the league for 13 years and I seen what a rookie would do coming into the league and how, you know, they just not mentally ready for, you know, what comes with, you know, having some money in your pocket. And I think, you know, in college, you know, if they was to pay players, like, you can't just give these young men this money without no guidance on how to, you know, how to spend money. And I mean, like I'm 33 now, and you know, one of my biggest things was like I still learn till this day, but I won't say I had a problem, but I'm somebody that like to ask questions, so I ask financial teams like, how do you spend money? Like I got all this, how do I spend it though? Like, yeah, I know to take money out my pocket and give it to them, but how do I spend money the proper way? And I mean, you know, I didn't get to learn that till I was like 28 or 29. And I mean, you know, when you go ahead and you give these young kids money without no guidance behind it,
Right.
you know, it's like a loose cannon.
Right.
Do I think they should get paid? Hell yeah, I believe that they should get paid. But I also think that when you pay them, it should come with with a manual, like, okay, this how you go ahead and you spend your money though.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I
And
feel
it sounded like you could have used one in the league when you first got there.
oh, most definitely. But see though, I had something that was better than that manual. I had turf meals, red hot burritos, tater chips, and sodas. So I remembered eating that all day, every day, and was like, I don't want to eat that shit no more. So if I gotta keep my money in my pocket in order not to eat turf meals no more, I'ma hold on to this money until I figure out how to spend it the right way. So that was my manual, that was my guide. Like, hell no, I've been broke. I'm not about to be broke again, so whatever it's gonna take for me not to be broke again, that's what I'm gonna do until I get the game plan on how not to be broke again.
Hey, Shannon, we got to wrap up. Man, any thoughts y'all want to leave him? You want to leave him with Carl or?
Nah, bro. If you throw a question at me, I got you. But I'm just enjoying the conversation.
I mean, what's MLK's legacy mean to you, real quick?
Man, I mean, it's not new to say, but the main thing I think about as I'm older is what he was about to do. You know what I mean? Like, I think about that often. Like, what he was about to get to, and the power that had, and uniting. Because yes, we have a long way to go as people. We got a lot of trauma we got to heal from. We got a lot of unity we gotta establish amongst each other. But even after that, it's like he saw that there was another hill to climb, which is the power structure. You know what I mean? And I think about that often.
Poor People's Campaign.
Yes, and you know, they don't want them problems. You know what I mean? Like, they don't want them problems. Whoever they is, I'm still trying to figure out who they are. You know what I mean? But whoever they are, it's like the problems they don't want. You know what I mean? So like, I think about that.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you both.